Welcome to the podcast Listen to Unlearn, proudly sponsored by Gladwell Academy, your Agile transformation partner. Please join us in welcoming our host for today.
And ladies and gentlemen, I am your host for today's podcast. I am Uncle Eduardo, as people used to call me. It's nice to have you here for this podcast session today. And I'm really glad to have someone that is going to talk about a very interesting subject for us. But let me just ask her to introduce herself. So Priscilla, it's nice to have you here with me.
Hi, Eduardo. Thanks for having me today at the great RTE Summit so far. I just come from a mind-blowing presentation from Joe Justice.
That was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. So my name is Priscilla Maurits. I'm the Enterprise Agility Lead at Philips and learning every day. So that's why I also joined the RTE Summit to learn from the speakers and from the great network being here.
That is absolutely great to have you here, and thanks for accepting the challenge to participate as a guest on this podcast session.
Of course. It's my pleasure.
So, we were just talking on the corridor 5 minutes ago, and we were talking about complexity, we were talking about integration. So I'm just going to start my provocation to you, because that was the question that I have asked. You said that sometimes we have to simplify, we have to work with the complexity, trying to simplify things. So my question to you, just to start, is, can you really simplify?
Of course you can, Eduardo, and at least you always need to have the 100% intent to simplify every day. Because if you really have a closer look to how we work and how we work together as teams across the value chain, oh my God, so much can be optimized still. Getting closer to each other, right? Getting in a multidisciplinary mode, being there where it happens, on the floor, and then a problem solved together with various disciplines. Oh yeah, there's so much to optimize.
That is an interesting point of view, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I work with many companies all around the world, small companies, medium companies, very big companies like Philips, for instance. And every time that we hear people from these companies, they say, yeah, but how can we simplify? I mean, we have 80,000, 90,000 employees all around the world, so how can I simplify things? It's just like something quick and easy to do. How does that work? Where do you start from?
So let's first start with the starting point, right? I always got the feeling that we focused very much on processes and tools in the past. Let's start with people, right? We always say customer at the heart and center of what we do. We can also bring that closer to ourselves and together with the business identify what are we trying to solve? What are we really trying to solve? What is the context? What's the size? What's the shape? Who are the stakeholders? What's the ecosystem? What's the complexity? Etc. etc. To then see, okay, what is needed to make the next step. So we always call it at Philips walking back from the customer.
Walking back from the customer.
Yes.
Can we brand it?
It sounds great, right?
Yeah, I like it.
And it really speaks to your imagination very much. So walking back from the customer literally means starting from the customer needs, from the problem, and then walking back to the solution. And if you do that, you are always taking an integrated approach. You'll never have a one-size-fits-all solution, right? Purely agile, purely lean, purely design thinking, purely change management or project management. No, of course not. We are in a regulated environment, so you always need to project manage to some extent. But where can you accelerate? Where can you apply design thinking and agile methodologies? And maybe in a year there's another methodology, right? Which we don't even know of and has a whole other name. I don't really care. Just the best way to solve the problem and to make the next step. That is really what our aim should be. Shortly iterating together, actually.
And how do you how do you guys prepare people for this kind of environment? Because you're just saying, well, it's not necessarily about tooling, it's not necessarily about frameworks. It's about people and connections between these people, for instance. So how do you prepare the people to this kind of ever-changing environment? You just said yourself right now, maybe, so we are working with design thinking now, we are working with other stuff, but we don't know what is going to appear tomorrow, what is going to happen tomorrow. So how do you prepare the people for this kind of challenge?
Exactly, and tools and processes, of course, and frameworks, they are needed, but they should be supporting for what we do as humans, right? We need to use our common sense on what is the direction, where do we want to go to, what are we trying to solve, and then pick the tools and methodologies. It's kind of a mix and match for that situation to make that happen. So yes, of course, we need those. And we also need the SMEs, the experts, right? To constantly keep an eye on the markets, on the newest developments, etc. But we also need those generalists who can really walk back from the customer and are at least aware of everything out there to solve the problem. You don't have to be an expert in all, but at least you need to know where to find the right experts to glue together and to make it happen, to make the change happen, right?
And how do you bring these people together?
So
because Philips is a very big organization. So how can you bring the people together so they have time and space to put their minds together and start to thinking about what is next, what is the evolution, how can we help my colleagues, for instance, how can we help other people, and especially how can we help the customer to have better products, better services?
Exactly. So 2 years ago we started with Agile 360, so that integrated mindset and tool set. And actually the first year was really building the story, developing the strategy, but also iterating on the story, right? And really involving our community, our experts from all the various methodologies and the business leads ultimately. Now we have our house in order, so to say. And we started with the first transformation. So we run now 5 transformations in an Agile 360 way. In a very integrated approach. So our approach is we do a diagnostic assessment and intake with not only business leadership, but also the transformation leads. And then in that intake, we identify who are the key players here in terms of change managers, CI practitioners, agile coaches, design thinkers, and the change makers in your company, right? The informal leaders are also always important. And then we identify, okay, what are we trying to achieve and what's the gap to potential? And what skills are needed for these people to upskill them to be self-sufficient and autonomous again, right? We don't want to be those consultants coming in and then coming out and then nothing happened basically because they have to do it themselves and they don't know. So we want to really build the capability where it belongs in that part of the business. So that's how we then build that network and build a team to make it happen.
That is also an interesting thing you just said, because we also see, for instance, that sometimes the companies they ask for consultants to come and to help them, which is pretty okay, which makes sense. You just bring external expertise. You bring an external pair of eyes for that. But it's not about the consultants. It's not about them. It's about your company. It's about your transformation. It's yours.
Exactly.
And when the consultants they leave, you need to have the transformation in hands.
Exactly.
To be led by people. Internal people, in fact.
Exactly. And to come back on your previous point, and then I'll talk a bit about this point, is we really also leverage our COPs very much. So we really believe in the networks already existing and cross-fertilize with speakers, etc., and inspiration. So also have an integrated approach from that sense. About that own identity, right? And bringing consultants in or off-the-shelf trainings or whatever that comes from external. We did that in the past, and we spent a lot of time and money on it. But then ultimately the amazing trainer, goes home, and then what? So then we partnered with Gladwell on our Agile 360 for Teams journey, and that's really a journey of 4 to 6 months, where a team starts with an e-learning and then goes along the way with the Scrum Master, Product Owner, very applied-based, through a training, and then there's a kickoff, and then we have a whole game. But that's all in Philips context. So the development team was not only Gladwell, that was Gladwell and Philips. The experts from Gladwell with the latest market insights, and the expertise from our Philips colleagues about what's possible, what's not possible, what's our business need, what's not really needed.
What really talks to your people.
Yeah.
And it speaks to them.
Exactly. And also with the examples that speaks to them, right? So that really worked well, and this training or this journey is now running for more than 6 months. And the first proof points are there, because in the 5 targeted areas, those use cases which I mentioned, they're really starting to tell the story, and not only the story, but also the impact on their performance from the Agile 360 support, but also the journeys they took. So that's really amazing to see.
That is cool, because what you're talking about right now is what we call the learning journey, and it really brings every people as hand by hand with internal people, with external people as well, and they can learn together and they can grow together, but in a way that you can deal with it yourself. It makes part of your personal growth, but also your team growth, your company growth, and this is the kind of mindset that we want to foster, right?
Exactly. That's definitely the mindset we need to foster, and we need big diversity as well in our workforce, and also not being too rigid on roles, responsibilities, function, names, and groups. If people have energy for adding value to a certain piece of work, or then please, let's join forces and let's make it happen. And that's also how we work with Agile 360 in our team. We have a multidisciplinary team, mostly around 12 people in the core team. But over time, it evolves, right? Some people move on because they added value in the first phase, and now we need also other skills in the second phase. So that's really how we develop and evolve, and that's super, super energetic and inspiring. Then we also have a broader network of testers, developers, reviewers, cheerleaders, everyone. And in every demo, we also ask our stakeholders, which role do you want to play? Mm-hmm. Do you want to be the sponsor? Do you want to be the cheerleader? Do you want to be involved in the development? To really give everyone the opportunity to play their role in this change. And
also brings a little bit of how do we say that? Dynamism? I don't know. If that's not a word, I'm sorry. I just invented a word.
It sounds cool, dynamism.
It's dynamic.
Yeah.
And so that brings this kind of experimentation, and then people, they can feel in these different roles as they feel it, of course, and also brings a lot of fun, because you were telling this to me, but you were also smiling at the same time, so I can imagine that there is a lot of fun as part of it, right?
Definitely, there's a lot of fun in it, and everyone also feels included, or at least the opportunity to be included, right? And that inclusion is so important. It's not like, okay, it's our party and the rest. No, of course, let's join forces and join if you like.
That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Let me provoke you a little bit more then, because we know Philips, and we know that, well, I'm myself a big consumer of Philips products in different areas. In fact, But my question to you is not regarding Philips, but it's regarding Priscilla.
Yeah.
So who is your customer, Priscilla, when you go to your office or you start your morning working from home, for instance? Who is your customer?
Well, honestly, I work for Philips because I really much believe in what we're after, right? Saving 2.5 billion lives before 2030, right? So it is about the patients and the consumers. And with that in mind, imagine if you're a patient in a hospital, you better want to be safe, right?
Oh,
you have so much fear already, and so that's also what makes us very conscious as employees, right? So we always have that safety and quality in mind when we enter the office. But we don't work with the patients and consumers every day, of course, in the office, right? So who are my customers in the office? I just want to be where it happens. So yes, I'm based in Amsterdam, but I'm there, max 1 day per week. Why?
Oh,
because I'm also in Eindhoven, in Best. Last month I was in Bangalore. I just want to be where it happens and be with people together. Because then you get most out of the group, both verbal and non-verbal, right? Yeah. And the customers are really the business who are trying to solve a problem for the customer and who are trying to fulfill a need for the customer. Those are the people in the business who I work with.
Yeah. So what you have just said, if you allow me, is something that is very interesting, because I have seen other companies having that in mind. So although we say that the customer is at the center of everything that we do, and now we hear the music, the sessions of the afternoon, the sessions of the afternoon, they are about to start. We see that companies, they say, yes, the customer is at the center of everything that we do. And I know for a fact that Philips really believes on it and does it every single day. And even more now that I hear you saying, this is the end goal. We want to save lives. We want to save this much of lives by 2030, for instance. But everything that is big starts with very small steps.
Exactly. So what can you do on a day, right? And try to look at those opportunities. Where can you influence? Where can you be a player? Where can you join forces and work together to make it happen for our customer? That's what we're looking for every day.
And that's what drives us every single day.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
And that driver, that purpose is super important. Not only to me, but I think everyone at Philips. Yeah. That's
absolutely great. So Priscilla, thank you very much for your participation. I don't want to hold you with me because the sessions in the afternoon are about to start.
Yeah, exciting.
And so thank you very much for being here with me and for sharing this knowledge, this experience that you have had over the years with the audience as well. I really appreciate. And very last ask to you. Can you share a small tip to our audience about where to start from and how to engage people on this journey?
Start from the customer and walk back.
Wow. I love that.
Yeah?
I love that.
Okay,
I have at least 2 sentences to brand now.
All right, Eduardo. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thanks to you.
Okay.
Everyone, thank you very much for listening, and stay tuned for the next episode. See you. Bye-bye.